What are the Broncos going to do in the draft? Are they going to get another quarterback? Drew Lock out?
I really don't think that they're going to draft a quarterback. I know that we overdraft quarterbacks, and the narrative is, oh, if you don't have a quarterback, I understand how valuable the position is.
Yeah.
I also understand from 2009 to 2016, there were 22 first rounders drafted, guys that were going to change your franchise's future. None of those guys are still on the teams that drafted them. So I understand how difficult that position is. Joe, like for me, I think the narrative has become, and I think part of it is just laziness. It's easy to sell, hey, we got a new quarterback. Everybody buy tickets and buy jerseys, and the sky's the limit. Like, what makes you think that the Jets, who just in 2018 took their future quarterback, the quarterback of the future in Sam Darnold, and basically got the shit beat out of him, and then we're moving on to the quarterback of the future in Zach Wilson, and now things are going to be different. And for me, I think there's
throws off. He throws behind his back and he throws off platform.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's what people think. But for me, I look at the situation. I say, I think there are 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league. Like honestly, there are 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league that cover up warts. Right.
Sure.
Like when I was with ESPN when I first retired. Peyton Manning came in toward the end of my career, right? So I think Peyton Manning came in 88 or 1998 or 99, and I finished in 2000. And so for the majority of my career, I was covering Peyton Manning. And I used to say about Indianapolis all the time, and people in Indianapolis hated my guts. They just hated me. I go, that's an 8-8 team that wins 12 games every year because their quarterback covers a bunch of warts. And people are like, you son of a bitch, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, Peyton Manning gets hurt and they go 2-14. Right? And I go, hey, well, I way overestimated the talent level of your football team. I apologize. You're right. But the bottom line, there's 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league that will cover warts. The rest of the quarterbacks, to me, expose them. Right? I mean, think about Matt Ryan, who I think is an exceptional quarterback. Exceptional quarterback.
Great
he
career.
wins an MVP with Kyle Shanahan coaching the team, being the offensive coordinator. They run the snot out of the ball. They do great things. The next year they go 10-6 after Kyle leaves to go to San Francisco, and then 7-9, 7-9, 4-12. The quarterback all of a sudden get bad? No, he's still throwing 26, 28 touchdowns versus 7 or 8 interceptions every year. It doesn't really change that much. The point being is if you don't build up a roster that can support most quarterbacks, like not every quarterback that's drafted in the first round is a unicorn. And the crazy thing to me that happens every year is they're like, well, next year's quarterback class is not very good. So wait a minute. So Joe Burrow was supposed to be a 7th or 8th rounder before he goes to before his senior year in LSU. He becomes the number 1 overall. Baker Mayfield was a 2nd rounder before his senior year, before his last year in college. All of a sudden, he's number 1 overall. Kyler Murray was supposed to be a 2nd to 3rd rounder. All of a sudden, he plays his last year and becomes the 1st overall pick. There will be 3 or 4 other guys that all of a sudden become Zach Wilsons or become, Justin Fields Justin Fields or Trey Lance. It happens every year, and they'll get overdrafted. And eventually 1 or 2 of them will succeed and the rest will fail. And we'll keep going over the same circle. Think about this, Joey. How many times, if you go through the history of the draft the last 10 years, and I haven't done this, but I guarantee you, if you went through the draft, you'd see Cincinnati drafting the top 10 every year, Cleveland drafting in the top 10 every year, the Jets every year in the top 10, the Lions, it's the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they? Hey, man, they've drafted quarterback. Why haven't they figured it out? Because it takes it's the ultimate team sport. If you don't have a good football team, most quarterbacks can't elevate you to that supreme, upper echelon like a Peyton Manning does, or a Brady does, or Aaron Rodgers does, or a Russell Wilson does. There's only a handful of those guys.
Right. Yeah. It's just a cycle.